Welcome to the Southwest Region Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act Orientation, or better known as WIOA. If you are in one of these areas, you are in the Southwest region. If you're from Greenwich, Stamford, Darien, New Canaan, Norwalk, Weston, Westport, or Wilton, you need to go to the Stamford office for the WIOA orientation information. If you're in Fairfield, Bridgeport, Stratford, Easton, Trumbull, and Monroe, you would go to the Bridgeport American Job Center to get more WIOA information. And if you are from Derby, Shelton, Ansonia, Seymour, Oxford, or Beacon Falls, you would go to Derby to get more WIOA information. Part of the program of WIOA is that you need to provide us certain documentation. That documentation will follow later. One of the items you will need is a resume. I say this now because if you do not have one or you want to work on one, you will need to start that process now. And if you do not have a computer available to you, you can go to your local American Job Center and use their services, their computer services, printer services, fax, phones, whatever you need in order to complete the WIOA process. Who is eligible for WIOA? Adults 18 years or older, youth 18 to 24 can apply for a separate WIOA youth program. Dislocated workers, if you're collecting unemployment or have recently exhausted your unemployment benefits. If you're on public assistance, SNAP recipients, you are covered for WIOA. If you're employed adults whose family income is less than 50% of the state median income, you would be eligible for WIOA. We've come to the point where we want to start talking about the documents that are necessary. Remember, this is a federal grant, and so we have to provide documentation to the federal government. We have put together a checklist for you, and we'll go over the checklist in detail together so that there's no question as to what you need to bring for the eligibility appointment. I will say the most important thing for anyone going through WIOA, you must go down to your nearest center and sign up with the CT Hires. You must be in the CT Hires system before you can go through the WIOA program or any other program with American Job Center. The documentation checklist looks something like this. It's a two-sided document. We're going to go through each box together. Do not panic when you see it. You only need to have one item out of each box as long as it pertains to you. You'll see that there's an asterisk on some of the boxes, and that's because those are the items that everyone must present to us for eligibility. The boxes that do not have an asterisk are ones that apply to you if it applies to you. We're going to start with the first box, and we're going to talk about citizenship. If you were born here in the United States, what we're looking for is the U.S. birth certificate. If you were not born in the United States, then we're looking for the naturalization paper, we're looking for an alien and registration card, an unexpired U.S. passport. There is on the list a driver's license. That does not count for citizenship. That will only count for identification, address, and or birth certificate if you do not have one. But it does not count for citizenship. So one of those four documents, and then there's another list of documents here that you can use, but those are the four major documents we're looking for. Next one, Social Security card. What are we looking for? The Social Security card. If you do not have a Social Security card, I suggest strongly that you go immediately and register for one. That's going to hold you back from doing more than just the WIOA training, and it doesn't take long to get the card. As well, if you go for a card and you have to wait for it, but you're going through the WIOA program, ask them if they can give something to you saying you're waiting for your card with your full name and your full Social Security number. We could accept that until the time comes where you do get the Social Security card. We're going to go down to the family size. We do our eligibility for the WIOA program based on income and family size. Let's say there is a family of one and they make $30,000 a year. They may not be eligible for the WIOA program. However, if it's $30,000 in a family size of 3, they would be eligible for the WIOA grant. And so the family size is very important. I mentioned earlier, for folks that are getting food stamps and cash assistance or just food stamps, you can provide me a budget sheet along with the family size paper. They do have that. If you cannot get that, then birth certificates. That's what we're looking for. Families who are working, has a spouse working, and children working, we're looking for birth certificates, and we need the pay stubs from all the members of the family that are working. Other things we can use are, one of the more popular ones too is a lease. However, the lease, you need to have your full name on that lease and the full names of all the children or other people living in that house. The next, we're going to selective service status. All men born January 1st of 1960 and after must do the selective service process. You must go to the website www.sss.gov, and you must make sure that you are certified as selective service. You will put in your information, your last name, your birth date, and your social security card number, and a screen will pop up saying that yes, you did sign up for a selective service, and then it'll say print letter. You'll click on print letter and print the letter that's there. Gentlemen, if it comes up that you did not, you need to find the status information letter, and that's usually in the top right hand side of the screen once you're at the selective service site. You'll need to print that off, fill it out, provide documentation to that selective service, mail it to them, and wait for them to bring a letter back. If the letter comes back and it says you should have signed up, in order to go through the WIOA process, you must fill out a waiver from us, and somebody at workplace looks at it and lets us know whether you can or cannot get the grant. Also with the selective service, if you are over 26 years old when you came to this country, you would not have to sign up for the selective service, but you still have to do the selective service letter. If you were incarcerated at the time that you should have signed up for selective service, you would need to still do that selective service letter. So anyone, whether you were born here or not born here, if you were born 1960, January 1st, and ahead, you must do the selective service process. To the right hand side again, we're looking at cash assistance and food stamps. I went over this a couple times already. You would need to provide a referral from a case manager if you have cash and food stamps, as well as the budget sheet for both the cash and the food stamps and the family size. If you have food stamps, or if you are covered under somebody else's food stamp budget, if you're under a parent or under a sibling, that happens sometimes too, you would need to provide again the budget sheet and the family size. As long as you're included in that budget, then you are still qualified for the food stamp. Homelessness. If you're homeless, we have a form that you can fill out or bring with you back to your house, and they can fill out the information, and then you can bring it back with the rest of your packet information once you've collected the rest of the documents. We do need to have a nighttime address, and we do need to have an address within the area that we're giving the funding for. If you live in another area other than the ones that I mentioned earlier, whether you're in New Haven, Milford, Orange, you must go to the American Job Center in your region for the WIOA grant. Understand that we have a $3,000 grant cap here. Other areas have larger. They might have a $4,500 cap. So you definitely want to go in the area for which you live. All right. Family income. Again, we've already covered. By income, if you've got food stamps or cash assistance, then you know that you need to provide that information, and that covers you. If you're collecting unemployment, you will do the dislocated workers packet, and that will be your income requirement. However, I would like to see at least one pay stub from the layoff job so we can do a minor calculation for statistical purposes for the government. If you are, even if your spouse is making $1 million a week, you're still eligible for the grant if you are collecting unemployment. For the family income, for those who are not collecting under food stamps, cash assistance, or unemployment, you must provide something from this list. Mostly we're looking for pay stubs. That's what we would like to see. We have a 6-month eligibility period. 6 months being, if you had an eligibility appointment with me today, you would go from today back 6 months, and that is the 6-month eligibility period. So from whatever date you have an eligibility appointment, back 6 months. So it's constantly changing. We can use bank statements, alimony, legal agreement award. There's a few things we can use that we would always prefer to see pay stubs. That would be the thing that would be easiest for us. Now, if you're in a situation where you get child support or a legal agreement for child support, bank statement withdrawals, you have to show us something for your income. We have to see how you're providing for yourself and or your family. So you have to show us something. But a lot of the things on this side, they do not count. They don't count against you. But we need to see, the federal government wants to see how you're taking care of yourself. On the back side of the checklist, the first box we have is disability. Again, it does not have an asterisk because not everyone is disabled. But if you are, and you're going to tell us that you are, you need to provide us verification from one of these sources. We need school records, letter from a substance abuse rehabilitation agency, a physician statement, Social Security Administration, Veterans Administration, letter of records, workman's comp records. We need to see something. We just can't take the word for it. If you are a veteran, you do not have to do the selective service process. You just need to provide us with a DD-214. Employment status. Again, we're back to if you do the dislocated workers packet, it will come back to us automatically, and that is what we will use for your employment status. Like I said, we do not count your income, but we do want to see one pay stub just for that statistical purpose for the government. If you are working, obviously we're looking for pay stubs. If you are not working right now, you're going to have to provide us information of how you are supporting yourself, and you're going to do this applicant statement. Everybody will do the applicant statement with me. This means that you need to know all the information for your current employer, your last job worked, or your layoff job. So we're talking name of the company, address, phone number, your boss, some of the duties, your hourly wage, and you'll fill out that form with us when you meet with us. The home address, we're always hoping that we get a Connecticut driver's license or a Connecticut state ID. If you do not have one of those and it is not current, then you would need to provide us with a computer printout from a government agency, a utility bill, a postmarked mailed address to you, not to someone else in your family. Homeless, if you have a primary nighttime residence. We need to see your home address. What's the purpose of this? The purpose is to make sure we're providing training to people who are living in this area. We don't want to be providing training to somebody who lives in Vermont, taking the money out of Connecticut and going back to Vermont. That's the purpose of that. The next place we want to go on the checklist, this highest grade is highest grade completed. So if you have completed your high school diploma and graduated, and you did not go on to college, we want to see the high school diploma or a transcript. If you have completed high school and gone on to college, we want to see, if you have gotten over 30 credits but under 60 credits, we need to see the transcript. That means you've completed up to grade 13. If you finished high school and you did not go any further, maybe you did 12 credits or so, we still want to see the transcript, but we have to use the high school as the highest grade completed. If you did not graduate high school, then what we need is the transcript. We need a transcript from your school saying what grade you did complete. This is a federal program, so these are documents the federal government is asking us for. Just keep that in mind when you're going through the documentation. If you do not have what we're asking for here, there's nothing we can do on our end, so please start working on some of these things right away. If you don't have your diploma, try to get your transcript. If you don't know if you're on selective service, do that sooner than later. In case you have to fill out that letter, send it in and wait for it to come back. You don't want to waste a lot of time at the end of it. You want to keep it moving. We'll talk about why in a second. For your education status, you're going to fill out it says applicant statement. You're going to do that with us at the time of eligibility. It just lets us know, you check whether you are or are not working. Of course, you're providing us verification of that, and whether you are or are not in school, and what is the level that you completed up to. Other barriers. Everyone in this program is required to take what we call the PASS test. It is a state test that is reading and mathematics. We're required to have you complete a level of 220 or higher for reading and 215 or higher for mathematics. If you pass the test, when you sign up and you come to a test, if you pass the test, I'm going to get the scores regardless of whether you pass or not. So if you pass, don't ask the proctor the next step. The next step is get the rest of the documentation we're talking about, and then call the number, the Bridgeport number, or whatever area you're from. Bridgeport, Derby, or Stanford. That's your next step. If you do not pass the CASAS test, which is a Comprehensive Adult Student Assessment Systems test, I'm still going to get those test results, and if you don't pass, I'm going to call you and we're going to set up a level test in whatever one that you did not pass. We give you 2 shots at it. If you do not pass the second time, you're going to have to do key train, which is a remedial training. You'll need to get to a level 4 in applied mathematics and locating information in order to do the math over, or a level 4 in reading if you need to do the reading over. If you do not pass the second time, after you do this key training, you'll get a 3rd shot at it. Understand that when we provide this CASAS testing, the company has to pay for the CASAS testing, and so we want to make sure that the 3rd time you take it, you pass, and you can move on to what we're really all about, is the training. That's what we want people to get training and find employment. If there are some websites that you can go to, one would be khanacademy.org, K-H-A-N academy.org. You could go to casas.org, gcflearnfree.org, and those sites can help you greatly with the reading or the math, and you'll see that it can help you with a lot of other things too. If you have children or kids that you know, they can be very helpful websites. Moving on to the ex-offender, you must provide us some kind of a DOC record. Sometimes you can go to the Connecticut judicial website and print out whatever the offense is. I would say that it would be beneficial to anyone who is 3 years away from a misdemeanor, 5 years away from a felony, to go through the pardon process. It is a lengthy process and it could be tedious. I've helped a couple people through it, but in the end, if you can get your record expunged, that would be a wonderful thing. You can talk to Department of Labor about the pardon process. Otherwise, or in addition to, we still need to see some documentation as far as whatever your offense was. Obviously, you need to make sense when you are looking for work. It's a work program, so you want to make sure that you're looking for an occupation where you're able to find employment. If there is some kind of a charge that you had and then you try to get into a field with that same type of charge, you're probably not going to be able to get a position. So look for things, call companies, call around, and see if they hire ex-offenders, and hopefully there'll be something in your line. You don't have to tell them you're the ex-offender. Say you're working with ex-offenders, and just see what is out there. Do some research before you get yourself involved in a training that isn't going to be beneficial to you. That's our whole thing. We want the training to be beneficial to our customers. We want you to find employment and become self-sufficient. The next document is the resume. The resume, I already mentioned, Department of Labor can help you with resume critique. It can help you with beginning and advanced resume writing. It's very important that you provide us a hard copy in a Microsoft Word document, and you also attach a Microsoft Word document to whatever site you're at. For here in Bridgeport, it's ajc.bridgeport@gmail.com. What I'm going to talk about now is our program research. Program research, that's why you need to be on the CT Hire system. This is where we are sending people. You will go to and log into your cthires.com. You will scroll down to your training, it's education and education services, and then you'll click on training and education programs and search for WIOA approved programs. Once you've found a program that you're interested in, then what I ask you to do, I don't ask people to fill it out anymore because there's been trouble with printing, keeping things in the margin, and so what I ask people to do is once you decide what it is that you want to do for training, that you go to the My Next Move page, and that's www.mynextmove.org. You put whatever that occupation is into the search bar. You click on it, it'll give you a long list of occupations. It'll give you the closest to what you asked for at the very top or close to the top. You'll click on it and you'll open the page. I ask that people please at least just read over the information. Try to follow the directions on the page and at least read over the information. The purpose is this. We've had people in the past that have gone for a training, they show up to the training the first day and they haven't done the research on it, the occupational research. They get there and decide, oh, I don't want to do this. This is not something I want to do. Well, unfortunately, the school gets to keep that portion of the money and that money could have gone toward another training for that person that they really wanted to do, or for another person who wanted the training but didn't get the training. And so you must provide to us this occupational summary page as well. That lets us know that you went through the information, you know what you're getting yourself into as far as training. I would definitely encourage you to go through this page. You will be asked that at the time of eligibility. You'll be asked, did you do the occupational research? So you could say, yes, I went to the page, I read through it, I understand what I'm getting myself into, and then I or another eligibility specialist can help you to fill out the rest of this page, so you can only do it one time, not 2 or 3 times. I would say if you do try to do anything on your own, it's like, let's say you try to do this page on your own, do it in blue ink. We ask that you do it in blue ink. We get a lot of questions, why blue ink? That way we can differentiate from the original and a copy. So we do prefer that you use blue ink. You have already started the process for the WIOA grant. What you'll need to do is understand that the WIOA grant is the last source funding. If you qualify for an individual training account, this may pay the full cost of training that you seek. Ask the school you research if they are eligible for Pell Grants. You must apply for Pell Grants and other grants loans at FAFSA.gov. You may have to take a loan in addition to the ITA grants to cover the full cost. Bring documentation of your financial aid awards to your appointment with the ITA specialist. The ultimate goal is enhanced employment. Training is a means to that goal, but it is not the end. You will also work with the Business Service Unit to revise your resume and brainstorm your job search. Even after you are employed and exited from the program, we will continue to follow up with you for a full year, and BSU services will remain available to you. Keep us updated on your employment status at all phases of the process, before, during, and after training, and for a year after exit. Let us know when you need additional assistance with your resume or job search leads. No one can get a job for you, only you can do that. We are here to help. Where do you go from here? The first step is to sign up for a CASAS test. We discussed the CASAS test in the documentation section of this orientation. You need to pass that test before you can move ahead. Once you've passed the test, you want to gather the rest of your documentation. You want to find the training option of choice for yourself and look at the occupational summary on the mynextmove.org. We know we've given you a lot of information in this orientation, so to simplify it for you, I'll let you know the steps that you need to take. First, you would need to do the WIOA orientation. Then once you collect all your documentation, you'll need to get in touch with an eligibility specialist, and you do that by contacting them through one of those phone numbers at the bottom of the back of your checklist, either Bridgeport, Stanford, or Derby, whichever area you're in. After eligibility, you'll be given a program research page. You will research the school that you've chosen, and you'll hang on to that paper until your file is given to an ITA specialist. ITA, individual training account, is the same thing as your contract. Once they get a hold of your file, they will email you. So make sure you have an updated email. Make sure your telephone has a working voice mailbox and that it is empty. So if they try to reach you by telephone, they're able to. The first initial contact will be by email. So if you do not have an email or a professional email, I suggest that you get that done sooner than later. When you meet with the ITA specialist, the first time you'll get a letter of referral that you'll need to take back to your school to have that signed. You'll make another appointment with your ITA specialist. You meet with them again to finish up the contract. There may be other pieces that you need to do, so it may be more than 2 appointments, but it shouldn't take more than 4 appointments to get everything done. It all matters on whether you have all the correct information when you come to the eligibility or the ITA specialist the first time. After the ITA specialist, you'll go into your training. Once you finish your training, you'll make sure you stay in touch with the ITA specialist. You let them know you finished your training, and they'll put you in touch with our Business Services Unit. Once you talk with the Business Services Unit, they'll go over your resume with you, they'll go over some interviewing skills with you, and they'll help you to find employment. If you find employment before the school or before Business Services finds employment for you, then you'll need to let them know so that you can be exited from the system. The purpose of exiting you from the system is that they will follow you for the first year. But 2 years after that exit date, you would be eligible for another WIOA training if you still met the qualifications financially. During that first and second year, you'll be in touch with business services and the retention specialist. They'll call you quarterly or email you quarterly in the first year to find out if you're still employed, if you're making more money, if you're not employed anymore. This is all statistical information needed for the WIOA grant. The government needs to know that the grant is working. If we don't have any numbers to show them, they could potentially take the WIOA money and put it someplace else. So don't think we're just trying to get information out of you and be nosy. That's not the purpose. We need to know that the WIOA program is working and that we're working hard for you to find employment and be self-sufficient.